Greetings, everyone. This is kind of a continuation of what we worked on yesterday. Hey, Sapphire Ridge, long time no see. This is watered down apple cider for the working man. Yesterday, we took the basically what was in Source of the Nile, the board game, from these instructions over here, and pretty much ran it straight. Created a hex map. I thought it turned out pretty well. I think. Let me see. I know I got it. I think I've got it here. Yes, I do. I do have it. I have it right there. So you can see here, interesting mix. Got some lakes, some rivers. Still, I know I did stuff wrong. Like I think this river here, the way this came down and kind of bypassed this lake, probably shouldn't happen. But I think it has to do with how we generate. We were going across the top, so like this, and then like this, and I think we have to use. We'll probably develop some kind of common sense type things to use the system. But anyway, we got some neat stuff because one of the big things that bedevils folks when you're creating hexes is rivers, and this does have a procedure for generating rivers. Now, whether it's not going to be perfect, and it's remember that the game it's coming from, it's particularly trying to model Africa, and you're looking for the Nile and rivers. As somebody mentioned in one of the comments, which thanks very much because they had a little bit more context about the game. A big part of traveling in that game is rivers, which is something I don't think we do enough of in games. I don't really see a lot of the traveling up and down the rivers. Hey, Magnus. And Magnus, I'll probably post pictures of the rulebook because trying to copy paste the stuff out of the rulebook for rivers, it's a pain in the butt. I think I actually did paste a couple of images of that. I'll throw them up somewhere so you can get a hold of them. I am, as you can see here on this side, kind of took what they did and sort of tried to add a little bit of my own and kind of mess with it a little bit. And then that turned into this map, which, part of it's the dice. I don't know that it's really any more sensible. You've got some, I mean, you have some really interesting things. Like this is a very wet area. Clearly, we have a lake and then wetlands. We have wetlands in this lake here. And then we have a whole, I mean, this, I don't even know if this is what we'd call this. I suppose you'd get into whether this is one big lake with kind of a shallowy, wetlandy area in the middle, or whether it's the Finger Lakes or the land of a thousand lakes, which they're little lakes all connected here. You've got this. I'm not sure what to do with it. This would seem to indicate you're trying to take what we did and look at it and what that says about the terrain. That if you have a little river that's flowing from this lake down here, then that would probably mean if these are all connected, that there's got to be some separator some here between these water systems. Otherwise, probably the river wouldn't. I mean, maybe this happens. I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much. I'm all for kind of ignoring something like, well, it doesn't happen, never happens on Earth. I mean, whatever kind of things you get. But definitely intriguing space. You got some mountains. These are kind of bare hills. I think both of these I rolled Badlands and then rolled for elevation and kind of got hills, so they're kind of hills. And then we did end up having kind of this kind of a neat. I don't know, worked out pretty well. We have desert here, but you can see how the desert's kind of hemmed in. So I feel like it's a little bit more sensible than, let's say, a desert hex smack in the middle between these things. And I forget who it was yesterday who mentioned taking one of the rules about things next to deserts and kind of applying that to swamps. Also, so what I decided to do, so we're starting over. Oops, that's from starting over. We've got a blank, and I'm doing 6 by 6. I feel like it's a good sized area. Hey, Michael Fraker, good sized area. This is what we worked on yesterday. Also, not too big, not too small. I think get a chance to see stuff popping up, but it's not super unwieldy. Now I'm trying something which I've been working on kind of not privately, sorry, what I'm working on my own is sort of splitting up elevation from terrain. So you'll notice there is no mountain or desert terrain. Roll for that later on. And so this I think will help enable. And if we were looking at if I pull up my other map again, you'll notice, oops, no, that's Worldographer. Well, I could pull it up on Worldographer, I suppose. Twisting my arm. Okay. See here, I've got forested hills, another forested mountains over here, forested hills over here. and then bare hills, which actually were barren or badlands or barren hills. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get more of these varieties of with the elevations as opposed to just mountain or hill. Oh yeah, it opened it up in a whole new worldographer. So that's kind of one of the reasons I want to do that. Worldographer has a couple of just limitations. I'm not going to try to work around them at the moment. If I go to the classic, which I like to do, they do not have, say, swamp hills, swamp mountains, and there's no like lake. I'm just using a full fill. 'Cause what I would probably do if I had my druthers was roll for elevation to see kind of what's around the hill or kind of what the terrain is that's underlying the water lake. Maybe we'll do that this time. We'll use one of those blue dots to look and say here's a lake, and we can kind of see where the lake is as opposed to this, which spans the entire hex. Granted, it doesn't mean that it takes up the whole hex, but the symbology does that. Maybe we can mess around with that. But there is no swamp, hill, lake, hill kind of thing. Uh, we can probably monkey around with that. Maybe we'll see how it goes. So we roll for so what we're going to do here, and the other thing is we're going to try to follow the pattern. So the other thing is, let me say it's supposed to this way. Source of the Nile has basically a pattern in which you are coming from the exterior, coming from the coasts, and exploring the interior. So they're able to do some things because on their map they have the outer hexes of their area, in their case, Africa, have stuff in it, including rivers exiting out in the ocean. So it gives them kind of this basis, and then as you're filling in the interior, they have those hexes, those adjacent. You're always going to have at least one adjacent hex. You're never in that game starting from absolute nothing. Well, we are starting from absolute nothing. So I'm gonna do, and I did this in my map too. Is we're gonna go first. We're gonna go and basically go around the horn. I think last time I don't think it matters. I think the long side, then I did short, long, short. I sort of did that. We'll do something like that to figure out our an idea of where our rivers are, terrain is, and then once we've got that part settled, we can start filling in on the interior. I'm not sure if it matters. Well, I guess it does matter, right? Because if we're yeah, because river. 'Cause I was gonna say that one of the things is that you kind of have to roll them all. I could roll multiple dice, but I'm just gonna roll one die at a time. I think I was saying, could we do all the terrain and then do the rivers? But you can't because I set up a bunch of these rules, which is kind of the down part. Like the part of the source of the Nile system is that once you get into the rivers part, it's a little bit unwieldy. You remember yesterday, you got these big blocks of text. You try not to read through it all. Um, don't don't really love that. And it just makes it hard to find out. Like, okay, what if I'm in one river, but they probably could have written it out better. But it's just a little bit. There's a lot. And they're trying to do a lot. And I tried to kind of simplify a lot of that in here with these various adjacency rules. But it means that you kind of have this checklist of am I adjacent? I tried to make it so that the more extreme terrains give you bigger modifiers. And then the way I did it on my other map, which I'll probably do it here first, is that you will add up all the modifiers. So if you're adjacent to desert and badlands, for example, we're looking at this thing here, then you're -3 to your next terrain roll, which is going to push you towards desert and badlands. That kind of thing. If you are adjacent to two lakes, you're going to get a +2. So just think of these as saying for each, even though I didn't write in for each. Hey, Perkins. And then we'll see what we get. I'd love to hear comments if you guys have things to look at. I don't feel like I've seen a great system for doing terrain, and I'm not even going to suggest that this is a great system for doing terrain, but it's kind of interesting. I liked the results that we got yesterday. I kind of liked what I got this morning, though I still feel like the rivers and dealing with lakes and adjacent lakes is kind of I'm not I'm not super thrilled with it, but let's see what we get. So starting with I'm just gonna start with 0, 0. I got a 5. So we got wetlands. So remember that if we get wetlands, I think per the rule, and I'm just gonna use what am I gonna use? I'm not gonna try to split, I'm just gonna use a swamp. We don't have to roll for rivers because it's about tracking the river flows, and once it comes in here, wherever. So that's kind of just keeps us safe. And now for the moment, because we're in Worldographer, I'm just gonna assume it's flat, or just that there's no hills or whatever it is. If there's hills or anything in there, then they're not of note, right? They don't make, remember, we're at the zoomed out abstract view, they don't make the cut. So I'm not going to worry about it. If I was in another app where I was making my own icons, I might make some swamp and hill icons, but I'm not. All right, so now my next one down here, I rolled 3, which is a grassland. Since I am adjacent to wetlands, does that, yeah, +1. All right, so I go to forest. I'm just going to use forest, but I might have to override it because now I'm going to roll for elevation. Got 1, which is flat. And I'm just using flat hill or mountain. I'm not, when you get flat, obviously it doesn't mean it's absolutely flat. And when you get hill or mountain, it doesn't mean necessarily you could be going, it's just changes in elevation, right? So hill level changes of elevation, so smaller changes in elevation versus mountains. And of course, the hill could just be a hill. So it's not whether you're kind of going, I'm not necessarily going upland. If I get a hill, could be that I'm just going downland or it's just a hill, but nothing there. And then for water, I got a 2. I think I get +1 for the wetlands, but still nothing. So no water. And if you'll notice the the percentages or what the kind of die probabilities I'm using is there's basically equal. Just the terrain is a flat d6. Everything has a base 16.6. Anything that happens is because these modifiers that are going on, but nothing has. I have. It's not weighted. I think if I wanted to weight it, I think I'd want, forests to be the most. I think I'm going Earth like. I think forest is the most, and especially because jungles, rainforest being part of forest. I'm not. That's another thing. I'm not differentiating between jungles and forests. It's just forest. I even thought about, do I need desert and kind of badlands or barrens? I'm not sure, but I kept it in there for now. And then I would kind of sort of break it up. But in this case, we're just gonna see what we get with a flat roll. And then so that was okay. So all right, I said no elevation, and I said no, or did I roll for elevation? I don't think so. Or did I roll for river? I'll roll for elevation again just to see. Oh, 3. Okay, flat. And then there's basically a 50% chance that it's no water. Then a 33% chance, or another 50% chance that there's a river or an oasis. But again, you're going to modify that by adjacent terrain, and if you have rivers coming in, and then elevations, 50% chance it's flat, 33.333 whatever percent chance that there's a small hill, like a minor elevation change, and then a 16.66, that whatever it is, uh, that there's a mountain or kind of a high, a mass, large elevation change. So that's, we get tree. I got a 1, got the desert. I don't think, I guess I'm just going to put desert. Whoops. Now, did I put, so here where I'm still, oh, I do. Oh, I see. I have this. So I did add. So if it's forest or wetlands, +1. So that would move it up to badlands. Maybe it makes more sense. I'm not really sure. I know the badland, like the Dakotas, the badlands. I don't know that much about it. Again, maybe barrens is more appropriate. I can find it. I don't really love their icon for it either. I don't really know what that means. But that's there. Now let me roll for elevation. I got a 6. So instead of the badlands, it's going to end up being a mountain, which is fine. And then I'm going to roll for water. Got a 5. So there is a river there. Now, here's where it gets dicey. And this was, I felt like I felt like I still don't understand it completely in in the base game, Source of the Nile. So now we have water. It's not a lake. So the water's not stopping here. I believe, and I might have to go back to the rule book. So it's like you're supposed to look at and say, kind of, where's the water going, and where is it coming from? So it's not going into this forest. So it could be going out one of these two. And then we have a chance. So it seems to be. Let me see if I got. I'm gonna try to do this from memory, and we'll see if I got it right. We have this handy dandy chart, kind of like that if we're using flat tops. I'm gonna roll on this chart. If I get one of these unknown hexes, then that's where the water is coming from. If I get one of these two, then it's just no water. I think that's right. And then I don't know if we roll to off the map. I would probably just put it off the map. We can roll. So let's roll to see. Well, let's just first let's confirm if there is or is not a water source. All right, I rolled 4, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're good. We don't need to bother because it's off the map. Off the map. Now, if the wetlands were here and I rolled and I'd gotten that, then that would have worked, right? But the wetlands aren't here. So, and we'd already established there's no water here. So since that's already been established, no water. All right, we're good. Crisis averted on the on the doing the rivers for now. Next one we got is 1. So man, I rolled 2 ones. That is where am I? I'm just using sandy desert. Now I have to roll for elevation again, and because I'm next to a mountain, it's a +2 to the roll. Got a 1 though, so I'm still so nothing. Does it look like maybe there's some kind of just empty plateau here, which is fine. I could roll to see if there's water, but I put -2 on the roll because I'm in the desert. I got 3 -2, 1, 0, so no water. So we're good. Now I'm going to roll next to the desert, which means I'm -2 to my roll for this one. I got 4. -2 is 2, so we get Badlands. Badland, you're here. I got to roll for elevation again. I got 5. We're not next to the mountains, but it is hills, so I'm just going to use the hill flex instead. And then we're going to roll for water. No water. All right, and then finally the last one here. I got 5, which is a wetland. Right, we're not quite next to that desert, so that works okay. I mean, presumably, if we were still counting this as Badlands, I would do -1, but I'm not going to do that because we transferred it into a hill, and I'm not making any terrain changes on hills. So that was wetland again, right? 5. Yep. So where is our wetland? Is there. So now we got our first row. Pretty intriguing. So I kind of dig. I don't know that I feel like I'm naturally going to be getting where these things are going to kind of group together because you're gonna get, I think that's what you want at a desert. I don't think you want a lot of pocked deserts. I think you want deserts in kind of big blobs. They're there. They're there. You're not, maybe I'm sure, I'm not trying to drill down and say that there are no kind of micro environments. Obviously, there's valleys, and I've been to some in Morocco. You kind of go down and sort of between the mountains and the desert, and there you get these little valleys that are green, and you get out and it's all dry and rocky and nothing. We're not, this at this scale, we're not worried about that. But I kind of like how they seem to be sort of they're getting grouped, kind of grouping together. I don't know. We'll get more. So now we're going to go down to the next. So we're not going to go in a row now. Now we're going to go across the top. So I'm adjacent to the wetlands. 2 plus 1 for being next to the wetlands. It gives us 3, which gives us our grassland. I'm going to put that, but I'm going to roll for elevation. I got 5, so it's actually a hills grassland. Now I can roll for water. Yep, we definitely have a river, and it's gonna flow. Well, we gotta let's see. It's going to. Now I'm gonna judge that we're gonna have a river. It's gonna at least flow into here. Maybe it's just a tiny little bit that's gonna flow in. We'll see now. I'm gonna roll right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I get one of those unknown ones, and that's where the river's flowing into. I got 1, so it's coming out of here. I'm gonna roll. Or no, sorry, I'm not gonna roll. I'm gonna place that here already. Yeah, so big. And then I want to. What's the color I want? That's a fine color. Fine color indeed. Where did I say it was coming from there? So we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go here, and then it's gonna go there. Now the other thing I was doing. So this I thought was kind of neat. So I want to keep doing that. Is I'm gonna use a 10-sided die for this. Is that basically the size of the river. And this tells us essentially how many river hexes or connected lakes and swamp hexes we're going to need before we can potentially before the river can die. Well, I got 2, which means it can die at any time because it's already got 1, 2, 3. So all right, so I'm going to put a note And I'm going to put it, I guess I'll put it right there. And I'm just going to put, we'll call it river strength. That's fine because there are rules. They call it, what is it, drainage? There's some kind of river drainage rule, which I think is kind of cool. It just means that you can't have all these tiny little segments of rivers. So these big rivers, they can't just die out in a hex. And they have some rules of, oh, well, what if this one dies and it must branch, there must be a branch. And they got some neat stuff. I think that's really cool. And I like it. So this one we don't really actually have to keep track of because it's already fulfilled ours. So that doesn't mean it can't snake all the way through here, but it means if we ever get to one of these hexes and it says river ends, then river just ends. We're good. And in fact, now we have to come to that one. And we got to roll to see what kind of terrain we have. For, let's see. So for is forest. We got the forest. And let me roll to see if it's what the elevation is. If we have hills, 4 or 5. Yep, it is also hilled. Now we can roll to see if the river 6. So the river continues, or at least we think it will. And now I got to roll to see if it's. There's a good chance it ends here. Or I suppose I could. I suppose if it hits one of those, it's actually just going off the board, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, let's see here. I rolled 1, so it's 1. So it's going off. We don't know where it's going off the map over there, which is fine by me. We've already, and in this case, we can kind of cheat because we don't know how long the river is. We already fulfilled the river length, but if it was longer, we just have to presume that that river extends somewhere off the map. So it's going like that. That's fine. We are good. Now we're next to that forest. Keep getting 1. 1. Let's see. Do I have any modifiers to add here? Okay, 2. So Badlands again, because for the forest gets us up to Badlands, and then we got to get a Badlands hex. Let me roll to see if there's any elevation. 6. It's another mountain. Bam. Any water? 4 means yes, there is water. All right, so now let's roll. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're just not going to go in here because we already know that there's not only one exit. I think. I suppose it could meet up with that. I suppose I would do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, let's see. 1 out from there. So maybe I suppose maybe it flows. Or these are all, I don't, the one thing too is we don't have directions. We don't get a direction of flow. I don't know which way. That probably would be another thing I want to add is figure out where is everything where's everything flowing to? We don't know. Um we don't know if it's ending here. Let me look at the thing. See, this is where it gets so darn confusing. Because there's kind of like there's this thing of like, well, where's the river coming from and then where's it going? And I still don't have it quite straight in my head. So I'm gonna go back to read what this has to say, even though I find it's not that it's unclear. It's just maybe not as clear as it could be. All right, so here we go. No rivers known to flow in or out of the new hex. That's where we are. We rolled a die, and we're using my thing instead. So we got a river. There may be a river. Then we're gonna roll to consult the directional indicator. Right, if the adjacent hex is a lake, swamp, jungle swamp, unexplored, a river source is located at the center of the hex, and a river flows from there into the adjacent hex indicated. If the adjacent hex is not one of those 4 types, there will be no river source. So basically, this is I see. So there would be a source here, and it pushes over there. That might make some sense. Flows down and then cuts around. I could see that happening. Okay, so I'm going to use the blue dot for that. Features. blue dot. I don't know what. Oh, I forgot to override. Color. All right, I think that works. And then the shape. We have a water source, and now it's flowing off there. And presumably, if we had that hex, we might see some kind of dog leg. It says seems to produce a lot of change or patchwork terrains. Well, we shall see. Remember, we're only doing the outlines, and I mean, it's. I think to your point, the fact that basically we're starting from a flat distribution is going to do that. It is going to indicate that. But we'll see as we're going. But yes, that is a weakness of this style. Is definitely getting a patchwork. Oh, got desert again. And of course the dice. So here I'm rolling lots of dice. Or lots of ones at the moment. I'm gonna roll for elevation. I'm +2 because I'm next to that mountain. So I get another mountain. This actually changes to become a mountain. Roll for water. Or I get water. 1, 2, 5. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's a water source here that's flowing. No, water from here that flows into here. All right, so now I'm gonna need. But yeah, I mean there are absolutely weaknesses to the system for sure. And here's the thing though, and this is what I think is a big point that we have to keep in mind. Well, for one, like I don't. Okay, so a couple things here, right? So realism versus sort of fun. I actually think not having huge swaths of the same terrain is more fun. Just because if you are exploring, it's fun to see a bunch of different stuff. Then it's like here you are in oodles of forest land. Even though that might be the most realistic, though I'm not sure it is. I mean, I think depending on where you are and what time period you're looking at, you probably look at things and there are a lot of patchworks. Like I think of the Hudson Valley and the Berkshires and places I spend quite a bit of time in, and it's all hills, valleys, swamps. I mean, granted, there's no desert in there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are some kind of barren type areas. On the one, you can look and say, well, it's a lot of the same. But on the other hand, you look at it, and there's a lot of different kind of things in there. Not to mention, so I don't know. And then, of course, there's rolling grasslands and whatnot. So I don't know. I don't know. I kind of think if I have to choose, I'd rather choose for something that's interesting over something that gives me a uniformity that maybe matches something in the real world, but it's going to be positively boring unless we really just go nutso with stocking. Because here's this whole thing, and we're just going to fill it with forest hex. Like, oh boy, what are we going to do? I mean, remember too, what are the size of these hexes? We haven't talked about it. We haven't discussed it. Maybe these are 6 mile hexes. So we'll have to see. Uh, I'm not sure yet, but yes, I think to your point, absolutely, it is going to be patchworky. And then 4, I got 4 for here. That's forest. But also keep in mind, I mean, we do have in terms of it's not that different because we do have this like we are seeing here basically this is mountain, grassland, mountain, forest, mountain, mountain. Um, yeah, I don't, and maybe it's me. I don't love hex flowers. I know everyone loves hex flowers. Perkins, share with me the one you're using, and we can try that one too. I think everything's got its pluses and minuses, and you might even find with a hex flower type thing that it's too uniform. Um, Me personally, I haven't found like hex flowers to be like, oh my gosh. But part of this exercise is following the lead from source of the Nile. So I'm not because I have my own kind of thing in which I weight it more, and this I'm not weighting. But I did get 3 + 2, 5. I got more. I'm on tens. Um, Sapphire Ridge says hex sandbox generator. Who makes the what is or what's the actual name for that Sapphire Ridge? I'd love to check it out. All right, we do got now we've got two of our borders. Now we're coming down. Oh, did I roll for water? I don't think so. I think I'll do that. No water. Okay. Now I got to roll for the next terrain. 6. We get our first kind of full water hex, which I'm going to use a oh yeah, I'll use the blue thing. I don't want to get too messy. So that one's done. Next to that, roll a 3. Let's see, we're adjacent to Lake 4, so we get forest again. Let me roll for forest if it 5. So hilly forest. Hilly, foresty. Oh, I did I look at that Atelier Clandestin? I think I've seen it. I'm not sure if I've looked at it. I'll check it out. No water. No water. Now we're next to the forest. 1 + 1 from forest. That gives me 2. So that's Badlands. Is it 3? Not. So we get our first actual Badlands. Badlands over here. And then for water, we do get water. And then let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 1, 2. So we got water. We do have a source of water that's flowing out off screen. Yes. I mean, adding a kind of bell curve, and you don't need a hex flower to do a bell curve, though obviously it does. I use a 2d6 or 3d6, and you can get kind of some bell curves. I mean, I know 2d6 isn't a true bell curve. I know. Yeah. I mean, but again, remember this exercise. I'm not trying to bring in a whole different die type for this because part of what I found intriguing was utilizing the stuff from Source of the Nile. Source of the Nile uses a flat d6. For better, for worse. So I'm not changing that here. But I think even on I'm pretty sure in my my wilderness adventure simplified, I'm pretty sure where is it? Do I have that? Does this one have I might not have posted it yet, but I've got. Oh, I know I have it there yet. No, I don't have it there yet. There's gonna be a version coming up that I have and it uses 2d6. What I have right now uses 2d6 for this. But like I said, I mean, to me, the most important thing is am I getting is it kind of fun, gamey, and kind of giving me things that I want? No elevation, and there is water. Oh my god, where did my die go? I dropped my die. Okay. Got water, and let's see where it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe there's some spring wells, or not spring wells, but wells or springs welling up. Got that. And then I am going to roll to see how big this river system is. Oh, it's 5. Okay. Okay. I don't think so. I think. All right, I'm not gonna get semantic because I know, but I believe that 2 dice isn't enough for a bell curve. I think they say real bell curves are 3 dice, but I haven't tried 2d12 plus d8, or sorry, d12 plus d8. You can get I mean, that's one of the cool things. You can change different die sizes and get up with some kind of fascinating, interesting things. Perkins says it's important to know what result you are seeking. For sure, a simple D6 method that gives fun results is good enough. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what to me. It's like, yeah, I can do a whole bunch more stuff, right? I can, but is it ultimately giving me anything that, or how much more is it giving me, right? If I do some really complicated maneuvering and I get, whoops, wrong thing, and I get no elevation, I'll check for water, no water, and it doesn't actually do a whole lot, then what's happening? If I can do 200% more work, but I only get 10% more whatever out of it, whatever satisfaction, I don't even know because ultimately, in my game anyway, my players aren't going to see this map. They're going to be on the ground. Maybe they'll see some hand drawn bits of it, and a lot of these things that might seem incongruous to us, you'll probably never notice in the game. That's just where way things are. And we're playing fantasy games. So a little bit of incongruity is kind of expected. You kind of expect it when you have celestial powers, demonic forces, elementals, magic raging across the surface that things aren't going to be just like our humdrum mundane earth. I just want to check because just for the next hex, because I'm going to be there in a second. Oh, if when and only one river is known to flow out. Now, what about in? Um, a river that is known to flow into a new hex is only going to end there if there's nowhere else to go. I see. So we'll have to roll to see where that river's going. All right. Oh wait, I think unless if it's a maybe if it's all right. The river that is known to flow into a new hex is only going to end there if there's nowhere else to go. All their hexes have been explored, and none of them are swamps, lakes, or jungle swamps, which we're not really using here, or have rivers running out through them to the new hex. In that case, the entire hex will be a great salt lake. There are one or more unexplored hexes, which are adjacent to new hex. The problem is easy to solve. Roll a die. Okay. La, 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 la. I see. You just keep going until you get it. All right. Okay. So basically, I guess presuming this isn't a wetland, I guess then we'll roll to see what happens to this river. So I guess we'll just see if we get a wetland. Oh, we did actually. Well, we got a lake. What do you have to say now? Nothing. Now next to the lake, we've got another lake. All good. Next to that lake, we have some more forest. Let me roll to see for elevation. Yep, it's foresty hills. Do we have water? We do. Now, this is water flowing out. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to make a thing that if we roll 4 and there is water source that's flowing through. So now we're looking to see which one of these it's flowing out of, which will be what, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to count around. I guess I can count this one because it might be going like that. So 1, which is up. I feel like that makes more sense. I should probably make a note. Oh, I actually did river flow. Right. Yeah. Water flows. Yeah. I actually had that note already. Look at that. Smarter than your average bear. Shapes, lines. So actually from here, here, and then into the unknown. Okay. Next we get 2 plus 1 plus 2. So 4. So we get more forest. And is it also hilled? It is not. A regular old forest. Presence of water. Yes. And that has to be flowing. 1, 2, 3. Well, actually, it's going to come from that. Now we're just rolling to see where it's going to because it's coming from there. 1, 2, 3, 4. like the two rivers. That makes sense. Well, I guess we still haven't determined how the water's flowing. So I guess okay, so maybe it does make sense. So it's going. What did I roll? One, two, three, four. Yeah. So we got to make another shape line. Let's start here, here, and go to here. There we go. Okay. So now we have the broad outline. I suppose it's not that broad. Now we can start doing the interior. Now we have all this adjacency stuff. We'll have a good idea about rivers. We still don't really have much an idea. There's interesting things going on with these river systems. We'll see what happens. All right, so now I rolled a 5 for terrain, um, +1 for the forests. That would bring us up to 6, which would mean we get lake. Don't have to do anything else. Now then, let's see. So I don't know what the best way to do. We could go. Or maybe I'll just go around. Does that make more sense? We'll do this one next time. This terrain's a 4. This one 5, 6. I might have to feel like I might end up with a huge lake here in the middle. Maybe that doesn't make. I got 4. I'll just stick with the 4. I feel like I'll have to make more. I have to. I'm gonna have to tweak my rules. I feel like now that I'm doing, maybe it's better to go in rows. Actually, we'll see what works best. 'Cause I don't want to. I think the problem. Well, we're gonna get into issues maybe here where we're gonna get a lot of positive modifiers. They're gonna push things towards being lakes, which maybe isn't necessarily a bad thing, but maybe it is. So maybe we'll just we just do that. But or maybe I should just say the highest modifier you can get is 2. We need a max modifier 2. And that we get 1, 2. But I'll go with you know what? I'll keep going across. I'll honor the lake. But yeah, I think I might put a max modifier of 2. That way we don't get crazy with some of these. Oh my gosh, I rolled a 6 again. I mean, this has got to be 4. So this is flowing from here into this. So this is yeah, we got a big. I think with some of this, I don't know. It is an interesting shape, but that's what we got. So we're talking about getting a lot of. I feel like right now the we're not getting it's not super incongruous the terrain. We got a little bit of forest here. We got a forest area here. The mountainous terrain with forest. We got this big. Remember, it doesn't have to be this will be one big river. This might be a whole bunch of rivers. Maybe we're in the Finger Lakes region, right? I'm not here to say at the moment, but we're getting a lot. These are going to cancel out because we got this. It's going to bring it down. This is going to bring it up. Line up with a 3, which is grassland. That makes sense. Let me roll for elevation. 3. Yep, that's actually going to be. Do I have grassy mountains? I need a grassy mountain. Hills. Do I not have grassy mountain? Could there not be a? I'm going to go with grassy hills then. They seem not to be giving me a grassy mountain. All right, grassy hills. Where are you? We got water. Yes, we do. Ugh. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got a Gonna seem well, it doesn't. I mean, it's however many square miles. I was gonna say it's gonna seem weird, but not necessarily. We gotta put a thing in here, and then we gotta make. Yeah, I think the big takeaway is gonna be probably want to tweak. Probably want to, and I should roll for the size of these rivers too, which I shoot, haven't been doing. I did for this one. Oops, which was what? This one, 5. I think we already kind of there. One, 2, 3, 4. I feel like I should just put these together. Doesn't that make the most sense? I just think shift click. Oh, I feel like yeah. Let's put these together. There we go. Good enough. Good enough. These two sources snake down, jointed here. We got something pours out here. Something comes. This one, just the oddity, right? It kind of makes more sense that this would also feed into here, but it's going the other way. But this is a big thing, and I'm sure there are mountains where the water's draining from various sides and angles, going into various things. And then what kind of makes sense, which is sort of interesting, is because we have this border, we have mountains here that it is flowing, but the mountains, this elevation's blocking it from this water over here that's fed from this. And it also is hemmed in over here. We got more kind of hills. So it kind of makes sense, kind of. And this was supposed to be grassy mountains. They don't have it, but stuff's flowing this way. And then this just keeps filling up with water. Maybe it's an inland sea or like a really big lake. I wonder what the biggest, what is, hold on a second. What is the biggest lake? How big is the biggest lake on Earth? I know I'm not anywhere near to size. I'm just curiosity. All right, let's see. Like, okay. The Caspian Sea is technically a lake. I just want size. All right, so Lake Superior is 31,000 square miles. If we wanted to put it in any kind of perspective, 31,000 square miles. We're nowhere near. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this sucker up. And, we could just be in a Finger Lakes territory. I'm not, who's to say? This is how the dice are rolling. God, I rolled another 6. Oh my gosh, keep it going. World's largest lake. Yep, 6 again. All right, maybe we just fill the rest of this thing up with water and leave it there. All right, got wetlands. But actually, no, you know what? I got to do it. I rolled a 5, and since I've got it, I'm gonna stick to it. I got to fill that one up too. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Should I be doing? Wait, how am I doing this? What's my order here? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna throw that there. All right. Okay, finally, I get wetlands, which isn't a really big change, but it's just something. And then last, oh, look at that. Last, I get grassland. We did it, y'all. We broke it. No elevation. Or actually, no, still no elevation. Flat dice odds. Yeah, I know. Look at that. But I am, there are all these modifiers in here, right? So these modifiers tend to create these blobs until they get super lucky or, something gets super different. So there is that kind of we're still running with a bit of that tendency for scattered terrain, but it is modifying it a bit. Let's see. 3, 4. All right, we get woods. That's fine. And we get elevated. So we get actually what else? Yeah, if you have a curve that's gonna yeah, your curve's gonna do the same kind of thing. Let's see. I got forest again, but I am getting these interesting clumps, even though I'm starting off flat. Or actually, whoops, that would have been here. Oh yeah, that's no elevation. Then we're over here now. 2, 1, 2, 4. Yeah, I'm getting. Uh, yep, forested. Montaigne. Water. No water. Or actually, no water. Actually, there is water. Do have water. In this case, I'm gonna have the yeah. So I have water. I'm not gonna put another source of water. I'm gonna do like that. So nope. Wrong. Here we go. Now for the final hex. 3. Yep, so basically wetlands. Fine. Area is swampy as all get out. Oops. And then we got one last hex. Ends up being a lake. We are in the land o' lakes. Yeah. Yep. So we are using a flat list, but I have all these modifiers that I'm trying to remember. Make it a +2 or -2 flat. I rolled a ton of sixes. I mean, a ton. And then when I wasn't rolling sixes, I was rolling fives, and I was right next to it. So I might change some of these to +1s instead of +2s. But if I change those to +1s and +2s, some of this would end up being more swampy or more foresty. So I might have to tweak. Might have to tweak that up. But like this is a kind of interesting one. But remember, these are not. They're all not. On the map, it makes it look like they're all right next to each other when they're not. I'd be curious to see some. But if there was something I was going to change, I would probably have it going from all these other river spots. I don't know, but we've got the. It looks like from water flows. Maybe flows from the swamps into this lake. This flows down in here. This is flowing down in here. This is flowing from here. This is flowing down. So kind of we have a general push, except for this one that's going the other way. And maybe this exits somewhere else. So it looks like we do have basically generally a southern water flow. So now the other thing that I wanted to get into was I was thinking this, I don't have a great name for it. I was thinking about calling it network. It's kind of what I'm trying to get to is a bit of um, into the kind of I was calling it networking because this idea we mentioned it in kind of the wolves upon the coast and looking at it and saying kind of where are we putting our this kind of idea of okay how much is full right in the and also in what we were talking about or the video I put out about Breath of the Wild and kind of like how much of your region is populated with something and how much is empty in terms of not any written contents to start. Not right? It's not empty like it's blank. It's just empty. We haven't put anything. We haven't specifically put anything in it. And we looked at Wolves Upon the Coast region, and it was about 50% empty. 50% had stuff in it. And then we're starting to look at. You could kind of see how they were where they were putting stuff. So I was thinking about that, and could we come up with something to kind of mimic a little bit of that same thing? And we're thinking about okay, 50% empty, 50% something in it, and looking at well, how are we these areas of empty or wild, or not even the wild's not even the right word because sometimes the wild stuff is things. Anyway, things that are um, sort of have stuff going on and things that are things that are not. Kind of how do we figure that out? And since I've been sitting in this pondering kind of this source of the Nile procedure, I thought, could we use kind of a flat D6 with some modifiers and do something like that? So I made this settlement table to see if we could go through and put stuff here throughout. Now, this one, this board is going to be interesting because it's got a lot of water in it, and water is a positive modifier to stuff. So this might be fairly heavily settled. We shall see. So I have a flat D6 table, lair or ruin, which I just typed in just now, but being that a ruin could be a cave, could be, I figured just put ruin and lair. A lair could be a ruin or it could be something else. I just figured I'll just lump it together. Three empties. So we have 50% chance of empty and then 33% chance of some kind of settlement. And then, if they're next to each other, I figure then you'd start to see where settled areas would be is more or less where some of these settlements are, grouping together. And then more modifiers. In deserts and mountains, we're subtracting 2. Badlands and hills, or maybe I'll say subtracting 1. I don't know. Rivers, we're adding 1 next to a maybe I'm not gonna put anything in there. I'll put adjacent right now. Plus 1. And if you're adjacent to already has a settlement, you're more likely to have another settlement there. And then if you're adjacent to hex with a fortified settlement, you're even more likely to have a settlement there. So we'll see what happens. So we're gonna start up in the corner. I've got definitely I'm gonna put yeah, desert, mountains, yeah, wetlands. I'll put 2. So let's see what we get. I gotta switch to where are our symbols. So let's see what we get. What we get. Okay, there we go. All right, all right. I got a 5. So we're starting off hot. Isolated settlement. Start there. Oh yeah, I don't want blue anymore. Maybe we got some kind of stilt settlement. Now I'm gonna go just row by row. Now on the next one, we're next to a settlement and we're in with a river, so chances are good we're gonna get another settlement. 4 plus 2, 5 and 6. So that would give us a fortified settlement. What is that? Military castle, military fort. I don't know. Let's just put what's that? Oh, palace building. And just give us one of these. And there's another one. Oh, they're all on there. 4, but this time next to water, that's 5, but we're in a mountain. So what did we say? -2. So that's 3. Oh, we're empty. All right. Wait. 4 plus 2, 6. -2. 4. Oh, 5, because there's the water there too. So no, what's wrong with that? 2 plus 1, 3, still plus 1, 4, still empty. Okay, and then over here, 4, 5, 6 at the lake. All right, row 1 complete. Row 2, we're in some woods. 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave it like it's a big lake. I'm gonna treat it like it's a big lake. So I'm not gonna put. I'm not gonna see all this. I'm gonna assume that these are all kind of in there. So I'm gonna go down. We're gonna go around the lake in the mountains. Oh my gosh, 6. But even so, the mountain and the other one crosses out. So there's some kind of 7, 4. Wow. Yeah, a lot of fortification. Ringed with fortifications. So I know in real life the density of fortifications to so this one 3 minus 2 1, but then we're near to the lake plus 1 2. We do have that's plus 2, 1 plus 2. Let's say it was 5 minus 2 is 3 4 5. So there's an isolated settlement here. Man, I'm rolling hot. That's the other thing. I'm just rolling hot. Rolling sixes all over. 4 5 6, but minus 2 4 again, plus 2 6. Yeah. I have to put some I have to, this might be an area that's with a couple of different kingdoms in it. All right, we're here. 5 minus 2 in the desert is that's 3, but then we got these two. Desert means nothing to them. All right, finally 2. Then we got 4. That 4 gives us still empty. Fur. Whoo! Finally. Nothing in those woods. Oh, here we got another fortified. Hey, Julie Hames on Twitch. How you doing? How you doing? We got the swamps. 4 minus 2, 4. Nope, nothing. So we're good on there. And then these badlands. Oh, look at that. Rolled 2, 3. Yep, nothing there. All right, good. Now we're down. I don't remember which line I'm doing. Did like that. So we're already down here. Swamps. I'm doing okay. I got swamps minus 2. Yep. 4 plus 1, 5. Isolated. Isolated. That's fine. I haven't got any layers yet, unfortunately. I might need to mess around with modifiers because I haven't. Well, one, I'm rolling just super high. Maybe there's just no layer. Maybe this is a map for. Oh, there's a 1, 2, 3. Uh, Bummer. Julie Hames, the stream is going well. Terrence says, need to put a haunted island in the lake. Yeah, this is where you got to zoom in and see what islands are on the lake and then put something there because there's nothing. Did I do this one? I think I did this one. So that would be over here, maybe 2, 3. Maybe I got to put layer ruin up here. Empty, 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 layer ruin. I think I might have to do that because I'm adding, there's many more positive modifiers than negative modifiers. And it's just, or at least for this purposes, for this, in this one, all this water is just skewing things. But I feel like there's got to be more layers. So there's a layer. some kind. Where's that monster one that they were using on? There we go. Then I gotta do this one. Oh my gosh, come on. Well, I'm gonna have to put like it's gotta be, I say -2. But we're gonna put a ruin. All right. Magnus says, "You get a castle fortification. You get a castle fortification. Look under your seats. You all get a castle fortification." Yes, there's a lot. There's a lot. There is a lot. Now, the kind of the cool thing is though we do end up with some gaps, which is intriguing. So let's if we were gonna roll up, let's make a. All right, see if I can do this. Where are we? Grid, no features, and above selected. We will call it borders. Okay, close that. Let's see if I can do this without embarrassing myself. We want a line. We want a border. We want it, and we want that color 35. Why do they make them so big? We want layer placement. We want it in borders. Let's see. I think maybe that'll work. So we've definitely got. I'm gonna. Well, let's. Yep, I got snap. Okay, good. So let's see. We've definitely got this. And it'd be interesting. I'm gonna say that they. I'm gonna say that this is that they got the just in terms of what we have here. This is one. I guess. Do I need to complete it? Is it a line or is it a? I just have a line. Okay. Billy Hames, that's where I'm from. I am from the great state and city of New York. All right, so there we have one there. Now I'm going to say that we've got one here. And I don't think that will work. And then we've got start from here. This, this. And this would be kind of, at most what they claim, not necessarily that they control all of this. And maybe if on a maybe on a map. I mean, I guess on a map they would probably fill in. What I mean by that is you wouldn't have these two. There wouldn't be a gap, right? They probably would kind of push into each other. Maybe we would have. Oh, hold on. I gotta take off snapping. See if I can do this with the least amount of annoyance. I don't want you to snap anymore. You won't. No. Oh no. There you go. I don't want you to snap anymore. Why are you still snapping? Don't snap. Don't snap. Ugh. There we go. Something like that. And then how do I add this? I don't think I can add a point. This is where control drag, shift drag. No, I don't want to add a point. I want to alt. Oh, yes. Yes, sir. I did get that right. Look at that. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together. Yeah, I need to see. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, no. Yeah, wait a minute. How would that work? Got to something like that. Am I doing this? Does that seem right to anyone else? There we go. It would probably be something like that. And then I guess if I want to, I mean, hills, they would probably, they'd claim half those hills. Julie Hames asking about my profile picture. It's like a World War I kind of helmet, like super helmet kind of thing. Um, I think I'm remembering. Okay, so what do we get here? We got some, and I can fill it out, but and I didn't. You know what? I got ahead of myself. We don't know if this is the extent, but we got a little guy here, and then we had. I'm gonna put a line here on here. Maybe I'll dash it. Simple or yeah, dashed because this maybe was an old border, but no longer. Old border, but no longer. There we have it. We have a very busy little area. No, Julie Hams, I have not thought about changing my picture. I suppose I ought. There are many things I ought to do. I suppose that is one, but no, it hasn't really occurred to me. So I think things I like. So as people pointed out, I think you're definitely going to run into kind of limits with using this flat without weighing the dice at all. But I have to say, with the modifiers, which is doing your weighting for you, uh, you can get a little bit of that. Like I think what I would like, and this is kind of what I did with the 2d6 thing I have going on. I haven't published it yet. Is I try to weigh things so that you're kind of pushing in towards I think forest first and then grasslands. I tried to go from what is the most common biomes and then out, but it gets confusing because some of them they're not necessarily uncommon, but they're in big groups. Like I don't know how uncommon deserts are, but they're just you tend to see them in big areas and not kind of scattered across. And but I think you end up having to. I think what you have to have probably. I think my biggest overall thing was you find something you like, you're gonna have to sort of tweak it, monkey around with it, play with it. I think if I were gonna take this, and I what I would do is I think this actually worked okay for just coming up with something. And then the next thing I want to do is fine tune it. Or if I had an idea of the area, remember this came from Source of the Nile. They were trying to basically simulate some kind of Africa. So that's kind of that's what they're geared towards. If you were trying to simulate, I don't know, Scandinavia, you probably want to have a whole bunch of different stuff. I don't know that you're going to find any single generator that's really going to give you all of that. I think you're always going to have some kind of input, even if that input is just saying what overall, like which part of the hemisphere, where are you in terms of are you in a temperate climate? Are you in a cool climate? Because all that stuff will factor in some ways also. And of course, the dice being the dice. I rolled a lot of high dice, and that's reflected in this map. And that's just, it is what it is. And even if I'd been rolling two dice together, I'd still would have had a lot of tens, 11s, 12. Let's say if I'm rolling 2d6, because I was rolling lots of fives and sixes. If I took two of them, put them together for one die, I'm still rolling a lot of fives and sixes. So some funky stuff is going to happen. But if I look at this, I can start to think of a story about this. I think certainly having this large lake and you have different cultures that have claimed different parts of the lake. I even like that I feel like there's kind of an interesting story here in this corner. Maybe I want to between what happened here. what did this you know, whoops, like, what happened? Was this a kind of a, I mean, if I'm doing sort of Tolkien, am I looking at Arnor and Gondor, in which case this used to be together, but then something crushed this and now it's living here? Is this a beastie that will have to needs to be dealt with kind of thing? Like what's going on? We don't know. But it makes for sort of a cool thing here, right? What happened? What happened? I didn't mean to do that. I meant more. Well, anyway, kind of a, what happened here? What's going on? What happened with that? And then you've got what's going on in this lake. Is there is this one? I mean, I kind of like think of it as one big lake. And so we can think about what kind of trade, what's going on. Are there islands like Terrence mentioned? Are there any haunted isles in the middle of this lake? What's happening here? Who's this guy hanging out here? Yeah, is there something interesting up here as to why it's not I like I said, I imagine that if we were looking at someone's I'm sure someone trying to their official map. What the heck? No. Oops. Their official map would probably split that in half, right? Something like that. Are these two friends? Are they enemies? Obviously, a lot of castles. But you look at those images of France, Middle Ages, and things like that. They built people built tons of castles. So maybe we'd look at each one of these because it's got castles. Is someone's different, dukedoms or baronies all up and down. Maybe we would elevate one of these to a capital. Probably look at and say maybe here is essentially located. So maybe we switch out that one and put what is that? Not a cathedral. I don't like that palace. That's already a castle. Do we have anything else? Is there nothing else? Maybe we'll have to use that. Oh well. Oh, I see. I gotta actually delete first. So let's get rid of that one. I will put that there to kind of indicate that it's of a larger scale. And then I suppose what we didn't, another thing we didn't do is we could do some roads. Oh, we don't want it on borders. We might have. No, this. You might have a road. Oops. Goes there. Might need to change the colors because it's just kind of bleh. And then maybe, well, we don't know because maybe this was on they used the river for transit. We could say there's probably, actually, no, hold on a minute. Let's just say for transit purposes. Oh, I'm like, whoops, start here, I guess. So it's kind of the coastal road. And that road makes it look, gosh, ugly as all get out. I change that color, something. That color's ugly, just too dark. No, that doesn't work either. I'm gonna just brown. There we go. What can I select? Brown, you brown. There we go. There we go. So I'll post this up. You guys can muck around if you do. I feel like that's kind of cool. I am not displeased. I'm not at all displeased. I kind of like the idea that there might be an old track that runs down like that. Maybe dash. I do dotted. Kind of like that idea. Something like that. Show it to me. It's this idea of, okay, we can kind of see where this is. There was some relationship used to be here, but this bad guy kind of blew things up. Blew things up when they came around. And we could call it Lakeland. No, I don't know, but I am satisfied. I am satisfied. And then look, this is it, right? I think like I said, I could do a lot more complicated things. We could totally monkey around with it doing, but in the end, I think that you find a system that you like, gives you the kind of results that you like, and then kind of tweak it around. I'll say this too. It's just my opinion, but I feel like maybe one of the reasons why I don't love hex flowers as much as the next guys, I feel like they're harder to monkey with. I like seeing it on the table, and I can play with it that way as opposed to. I suppose you could convert the hex flower to a table. Maybe it doesn't work. That I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know why I don't love hex flowers. I keep trying to come up with reasons. Maybe just for whatever reason I haven't found one that suits me. I'm gonna look up that somebody mentioned it up chat. A hex. Where was it? Sandbox generator. I will check that out. And again, I'm gonna when I publish my update to my own Wilderness Adventure Simplified, I will have a very simple hex generatory thing in there. But this is fun. This is fun. Let me know if you'd like more along this. I mean, yeah, I don't necessarily gonna want to generate weird or whatever one-off hex maps, but maybe I'll pick that up and we'll do that one next. We can kind of compare and contrast what kind of results we're getting. And this is my own kind of Frankenstein version, but I kind of like it. I think this area to me kind of makes sense to me. At least I can make sense of it. Maybe that's the best thing I'll say. It's not necessarily the most sensible, but I can make sense of it. And I think if I was running it, that would be the most important thing. If I'm running something, can I make sense out of it? Can I turn this into a game? I feel like I can. I feel like I have some stories I can tell with the ruins and whatever is going on over here. I can also do more stocking in terms of what are in these hexes. Uh, maybe I shouldn't even have layers on. There's ruins and roll for layers separately. I don't know, But yeah, that was it. That's all I got, folks. I will be around. Hope you'll be around too. Have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.